Try that again. Good evening. Welcome to Philippi Baptist Church. We're glad you're here tonight on our beautiful Wednesday night service. We'd like to thank this side for bringing the most people tonight. Let's stand together. Let's stand together. Who am I that the highest King would welcome me? I was lost, but He brought me in. Oh, His love for me. Oh, His love for me. Who the Son sets free. Oh, is free indeed. I'm a child of God. Yes, I am. Free at last, He has ransomed me. His grace runs deep. And while I was a slave to sin, Jesus died for me. Yes, He died for me. Who the Son sets free, oh, is free indeed. I'm a child of God, yes I am. In my Father's house, there's a place for me. I'm a child of God, yes I am. I am chosen, not forsaken. I am who you say I am. You are for me, not against me. I am who you say I am. I am chosen, not forsaken. I am who you say I am. You are for me, not against me. I am who you say I am. I am who you say I am. Who the Son sets free is free indeed. I'm a child of God, yes I am. In my Father's house, there's a place for me. I'm a child of God, yes I am. In my Father's house, there's a place for me. I'm a child of God, yes I am. So bless the Lord, oh my soul, oh my soul. Worship His holy name. Sing like never before. And oh my soul, I'll worship your holy name. The sun comes up, it's a new day dawning. It's time to sing your song again. Whatever may pass and whatever lies before me, let me be singing when the evening comes. So bless the Lord, oh my soul, oh my soul. Worship His holy name. Sing like never before. And oh my soul, I'll worship your holy name. You're rich in love and you're slow to anger. Your name is great and your heart is kind. For all your goodness I will keep on singing. 10,000 reasons for my heart to find. So bless the Lord, oh my soul, oh my soul. Worship His holy name. Sing like never before. And oh my soul, I'll worship your holy name. Sing like never before. And oh, my soul, I'll worship your holy name. I'll worship your holy name. Lord, I'll worship your holy name. Sing like never before. And oh, my soul, I'll worship your holy name. I'll worship your holy name. Lord, I'll worship your holy name. Maybe see, thank you.
Good evening, Philippi. Shall I open up in prayer? Yeah, let's do it. Father, we come to you, Lord, and thank you for all that you do. I just thank you for that you brought us here tonight, God. There's been a lot of complaints about rain and weather and all that, Lord, but let us never forget to thank you for everything that you give us, because you know what we need. And I thank you for the people that are here tonight. I thank you for everything you're going to do. So I just pray for a spirit of anticipation in the service, and be with them as she comes to speak to us. We pray all that in Jesus' name and all for your glory. Amen. Hey, guys, listen, we got something special for you. You see our Awana people are here, right? Give it up for Awana. Y'all are not supposed to clap for yourselves. I'm kidding. That's good that you did it. Good that you did it. Emma Rogers, right, is back to tell us about her missions trip to Africa. And in case you guys aren't aware, you forgot about it, Philippi stepped in to support her to be able to go on that missions trip, correct, and make that happen. And I want to thank you guys for that. And in case you missed a little bit of the backstory, Emma was a counselor for our youth and our kids at Look Up Lodge this past summer, made a huge impact. And so she's came back tonight to give us an update about how the trip went, right? And guys, I just want to say one thing to you, and I won't take all of your time. I promise, Pastor Cassie, I won't take all my time. This is what happens, guys. No matter how old you are, no matter where you're at in life, this is what happens when you give your life to Jesus totally and say, here it is, use it, do what you want to do with it. He does great things. You think you got a great life now? Give it to God and see what he does. What an adventure. So Emma, come on up.
Hey guys. So as Pastor Jamie said, I'm Emma. I was summer Stafford, a lot of these great kiddos. I love them a lot. I love Philippi a lot. Also, if y'all know Sarah Wilson, very good friends with her. Love her a lot. She's awesome. So we go to school together. We also work together this summer. So I really do love Philippi, and I'm really appreciative for the contribution y'all made to my trip. Honestly, I wouldn't have been able to go if y'all hadn't supported me. So I'm really thankful for that. I did make a slideshow because I'm a big visual person and I took a lot of pictures. So I wanted to show you guys that. And so I just kind of wanted to walk through the slideshow with you guys and just tell y'all some of my stories, tell you a little bit about what the trip was like and what missions looks like for me. Okay. So this first slide is actually me on my first plane ride. So I had to fly from Atlanta to DC because our team was flying out of DC to go to Africa. So those are two of my best friends, Isabel and Riley. We did all of our traveling together. We go to Anderson together, and we're all from like the same place in our hometown. So on this trip, we all got really, really close. And I was really, really thankful that I got to like go with them on this trip because I have a really big fear of heights. So my first plane ride was a little scary for me. I was fine during. Taking off and landing was a little freaky, but during I was fine. So the next slide is my team. So we got to meet up in the DC airport. It's the first time I met this whole team. A lot of us, there was like 9 of us who went to Anderson. I could point them out, but that would probably take forever, so I'm not going to do that. And then some of us, one of the guys was from Georgia. Another guy he was from Columbia, but he went to Clemson. Some of them were from Mississippi. There was girls from Indiana. Like, we were from all over. We got really, really close on the trip. I loved the team I went with. They were all really awesome, really on mission, genuinely really great people. So the next slide is so we flew from DC to Egypt, and that plane ride was about 10 hours. And so my second plane ride ever was 10 hours long. It was great, fantastic. And so we had like a day layover there, and on the way there, we didn't really do anything. We got this really cool hookup with this hotel, and we got to go and sleep, which was very, very appreciated, very, very thankful that we got to do that. That's me and my friend Michaela in our hotel room. She actually goes to school with me, but before this trip, I had never really talked to her, and now she's one of my best friends. So if nothing else, I made one great friend on this trip. And then there's a really cool picture there that was in the hotel in Egypt. And as you all know, Christianity is not a big religion in Egypt. It's usually Islam, but there was a nativity scene because it was just after Christmas. I left on December 26th. We flew into Egypt on December 28th. So it was just after Christmas, and there was this really cool nativity scene, and I took a picture of it because I was like, oh, wow, even in this place where Christianity is not a big deal, they're still like showing this nativity scene of Jesus. So I included that for y'all. Oh, and I also got to enter the plane from the outside, so I thought that was cool, so I took a picture. But yeah, the next slide is our second stop. So when we got to Kenya, Kenya is where I did my mission trip. We went on a safari, and they do that, the organization I went with, they do that because they want you to get over your jet lag, get accumulated to the culture before they send you straight into the mission field. So we were there for about 2 days. I got to see a lot of really cool things. There's a picture of my van, which is called a matuk in Swahili. That is basically a van. It was me and some people from our team, and then the guy in the middle was our driver. His name was Vincent. And even on like our safari trips, he was the one who drove us from the airport to Masai Mara, which is where we were on safari, and he stayed with us the whole time. We got to like really build a great relationship with him, and we like shared the gospel with him. We got to talk to him about his life, and he was like 34, and he looked like he was in his 20s. I had no idea how old he was, and I asked him, which apparently was weird because he thought I was weird after that, but it's okay. I think he thought I was hitting on him, to be honest, but I was not. I was just genuinely curious as to how old he was. So the guys on our team especially, like really like poured into him and built a relationship with him, and they got to share the gospel with him. And I don't think he had ever heard it before, and he had been driving probably American Christians around for a long time. And so that was really special, and we hadn't even gotten to where we were going to like do mission work yet. As you can see, I got to see cool things like lions and lion cubs and hordes of elephants and cows, which one of my best friends, Isabel, who is one of the girls I was traveling with, is obsessed with cows, so I sent her those pictures, even though she was on the same safari. So that was really special. I'm really glad I got to do that. And then the next slide is when we finally made it to Kajabi, which is where we stayed for the remainder of we were there for about 10 days, and that's where we did our mission work. We did a lot of really cool things. Our first day there, we went to church. So the organization I went with partners with local missionaries to continue the work they're already doing. So the people that we partnered with, they're called the Arungu family. They're pastors of a church, and they do a lot of things within the community. And so we got to go to Pastor George's church. As you can see, this was this little girl. I'm not gonna lie, I don't know her name because I couldn't hear her when she was telling me her name, and I asked her it like 4 times, and she did not speak English. So I called her Ellie because that's what it sounded like when she told me her name, but I'm not positive that is her name. But she was really sweet. She came, her and her sister came and sat with me all of service, which was like 5 hours. And they sat with me, and they were just the sweetest little girls ever, and like made me very teary-eyed because I had been there for a day, and I was like, oh, these little girls already love me. This is great. And you can see another picture of me standing up there. I actually got to share my testimony with Pastor Arungu's church, Pastor George, and it was really cool because I would say it in English, and then that's his wife standing next to me. Her name is Joyce. She was translating in Swahili and Kikuyu, so she was translating my testimony from English into 2 different languages in Africa, and so that was a really special moment for me. I posted it, and I joked around that even in a different language, I speak with my hands, so that was really special. The next slide is our construction days. Okay, so one of the cool things that we got to do on this mission trip was we got to partner with George in his church and build them a kitchen. So we basically laid the foundation for that kitchen. My team did. We started all the groundwork. We broke up heaps of dirt. And I don't know if y'all can tell, I'm not very strong, but I did it. It was great. I got really bad sunburn. It was really sad. But we were very, very thankful that we got to go do that. And one of my guy friends joked around and said that it doesn't feel like a mission trip unless you like go and get your hands dirty. So that was really cool. That took about 2 days, and so we significantly improved their progress on that. This picture with this little boy is one of my favorite pictures. That is His name is Willie, and he's Pastor George's son. So they have 3 kids. Ruthie and Winnie are twins. They're 18. They're about to go to college in America, actually. They wanted to come to Anderson, but I don't think they're going to. I think they're going to go to Liberty. But their whole family was super sweet. Willie was one of my best friends on that trip, and he sat with me in Armatook on the way to the church, which is about 30 minutes from where we were staying. And so he and I got to talk a lot. We talked a lot about camp because he's never been to an American camp, and he really wants to come. And so we're going to try and get him to come to camp, and I feel like that would be really cool. Because obviously in Africa that's not really a big thing, and he is a missionary kid, so they have they speak a really good English, and they're very, you wouldn't know that they're from Africa by the way that they talk. At least they don't have like accents or anything, but they were really, really special. The next slide is Little Lambs. Okay, so Little Lambs is this school that Love Africa partners with. That's the organization I went with, and it's a school for orphans and kids with HIV. And so we went there for a day, and we played with the kids. We did songs with them. They just talked to us. We just literally just got to talk to them all day and play with them, and they were really, really super sweet. Almost everybody on my team, it was their favorite day because we all loved children, and we all wanted to pour into kids. So I'll just point out some of the people in this picture. So the little girl, me with the little girl in the middle, that is Sylvia. Sylvia is the little girl sitting that I'm like playing with in the other girl's lap. That's my friend Leah. She was so sweet. She was very shy at first. She didn't really want to talk to us, but then she really warmed up to Leah, and then through Leah, she warmed up to me. And then as you can see throughout the day, she was just playing with me. That's her on the swing sets. She was a really sweet girl. And there's one picture that I couldn't find, but I found it on my phone later. If anybody wants to see it, I would show it to you. Towards the end of the day, she got really tired, and so she was just sitting with me in my lap. And as the other kids were like running around playing and stuff, all she wanted to do was just sit there and be held by me. And I didn't know at the time that this was for orphans and kids with HIV. So I think that Sylvia had HIV from what I picked up on from context clues. They obviously didn't tell me that. But I don't know how often she got to be held. And so like that for me was just a very, very special moment of like, okay, this little girl who probably doesn't get to be held very often is just like sitting here in my presence and feels comfortable enough for me to just hold her. So that was really, really sweet and one of my like key moments on this trip. Also, kids love sunglasses. In Africa. I don't think they get to see them very often, and so I had my sunglasses, which I joke around and say they're like John Lennon sunglasses because they're little circles, and the kids loved them. They kept taking them off my face and playing with them and wanting to wear them, and so this little boy in this picture, his name is actually John, and so I was like, John, you have to throw up a peace sign with me, so we threw peace signs and took a picture, and it's one of my favorite pictures because John's wearing John Lennon sunglasses, so that's really sweet. The next picture is from our evangelism days. These days were my favorite days. We got to go out 3 days of the 10 days that we were there and go out into the local communities around the churches that we were partnering with and just share the gospel. Truly very, very special. I'll tell y'all my favorite story that whenever somebody asks me, what's your favorite story from Africa, this is the story I tell. So on our first evangelism day, it was our first day there, like after Sunday, so it was Monday. I was with a group of girls, and they put us with Pastor George as our interpreter. So we did have to have interpreters because not everybody there spoke English, and just so there was like a bridge in the culture. And so the first house that we walked into, my friends were like, we were carrying around these bags with non-perishable food items because it's very customary if you go into somebody's house in Kenya that you give them something. So we were carrying around these bags of food supplies to give to these people. And so they were like, okay, Emma, we know that you're not very strong, so you can give away your bag first. And basically that meant that I was going to share like my testimony with whoever was in the house. And so we walk into this house, the first house we go to, I'm giving my bag to them, so I share my testimony. It was just the way it was set up. And it's just this grandma. She's really sweet. She's probably in her 80s. She doesn't speak any English, so Pastor George is interpreting everything that we're saying. She was a believer. She grew up in the church, got to encourage her in faith, and it was just really cool. But then her grandkids walked in, and so she had a little granddaughter who was probably about 3 who did not know what was going on and why we were there, which was fine, and she was really sweet. And then she had a grandson, and his name was Patrick, and he was 21, so he was around my age, and he understood English perfectly, so because he had been in university, was a really nice guy. And then for those who don't know, in African culture, it's not like America. You don't just walk in, see that there are people in your house, say hello, and then go back to your room and sit down. Like, if there are people in your house, you sit down with them and, like, talk to them. So Patrick came in and sat with us. He said hello to all of us, got our names, and then, like, listened. And so Pastor George was like, okay, so we've talked to your grandmother. What about you? Like, what do you believe about God? Just, like, asking him questions about that kind of thing. And he basically shared that he didn't really believe in God because of like what had been going on in his life. He felt abandoned by God, all of these things. And it was really crazy because the stories that he was saying was very much in line with my testimony and how I had come to know Jesus. So I started sharing my testimony with him. I was like, my parents got divorced when I was 10. This made me really bitter. Blah, 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 all the things. I shared with him my testimony. And African men don't cry. It's not very common in their culture, but you could tell that he was very, like, touched by what I was saying. And then he basically, like, after I was done talking, he, like, looked at me and he was like, wow, like, this happened to me, that also happened to me, this also happened to me, I've also felt this way. And so the three of the people who were in my evangelism group that day, we just got to, like, encourage him with scripture, talk to him, really share the gospel with him. And then Pastor George actually led him in a prayer to receive Christ. Yes. And so that was literally phenomenal. It was the first house I walked into, and it was really, really cool and really special. He led him in a prayer in English, so we understood, and then he also led him in a prayer in Swahili so that his grandmother would understand what was happening. And it was just a very sweet moment. I will also say the devil did kind of discourage me because I was like, I don't know if that was, like, genuine or if that was just because we were there. Like, I don't know. So we went out evangelizing for the rest of the day. It was probably about an hour later. We were coming back, and Patrick had waited outside of his house for us to come walking back, and he got all of our phone numbers. He got Pastor George's phone number so that he could be plugged in with the church. And so there was also, I know that there's young men in that church who could, like, go and disciple him, and so that was, like, really special and encouraging for me that I was like, okay, this wasn't just because I was there. Like, this was, like, genuine heart change. So that is by far one of my favorite stories. Evangelism days were so special. We got to meet people who knew Jesus and who didn't and just talk with them. There's so many other stories like mine with Patrick of people, like, meeting Christ because of what we did, and it was genuinely just, like, so cool. And even, like, the people who did know Christ, they encouraged me so much because I was like, you're all the way over here in Africa, and I live in the United States, and, like, we're however many miles apart, but, like, we're united under the same love, which is God's love. So that was really cool. The next day, the next slide was, just some fun memories. So I think I had a misconception going into this mission trip that it was just going to be, like, all business and no fun, which was fine. Like, I was fine with that. I was like, okay, I want to share the gospel. I want to, like, help these people. That's what I want to do. But we also got to do a lot of really cool, fun things. So this picture is our team eating dinner together. We got to eat together every night, every meal. We all ate together and sat around a big table like a family, and it was so much fun. We got to go on 2 really cool hikes. If y'all know anything about me, I love hiking. I love doing things outdoorsy. So that was really cool for me. They were very hard hikes. One of them, we did get lost at night in the African jungle, and it was really scary, but it's one of my favorite stories to tell because it's really funny now. I also lost one of my contacts when we were on safari, so I couldn't see for most of this trip, and my depth perception was really off when we were lost in the African jungle, so that was scary, but it was fun. There was a really cute coffee shop like 2 minutes from where we were staying, and it was very Americanized, so we would go there in the mornings and get coffee, and that's all of the girls on the, that's all of the girls on the team. And then, again, just some fun things. So the next slide is, our last day in Kajabi. So our last day in Kajabi, these are all of the missionary kids. So that's Winnie, Ruthie, Winnie, and then Joy. So those are all the Arungus. They were such sweet girls. They DM me all the time. We talk. We keep up. They're the best. This last picture on the end was when we went to another pastor's church. His name was Pastor Shadrach. He did evangelism with us. We went to his church on the last Sunday that we were there, and this little boy sat next to me during service. He didn't talk to me. He was really, really shy, but he sat next to me, and then he just, like, held my pinky the whole time, and it was the sweetest thing ever, and it made me cry. And I was like, I don't want to leave this place. And so he held my pinky, and I just included that because I thought it was sweet. So that was our last day. The next slide, I think, is our final stop. So we stopped back in Cairo, Egypt on the way back, and this time we met up with other teams from Love Africa, and we just got to have a fun day out and do all of the touristy things because we had a day layover. So we were like, why not do all the fun things? So I got to ride a camel, which was really interesting. I'm scared of horses, so can you imagine how scared I was on camels? And like I said, height's not my thing. They're very tall. It was fun, though. I'm glad I did it. Will I do it again? Probably not, because it was scary. But it was really, really fun. Yes, and then again, those are my friends Isabel and Riley. That was just a sweet picture we got to take on the pyramids. You can actually walk up the pyramids. I didn't know that. I also didn't know how big they were. I thought I was picturing like bricks. They're like whole cement blocks. I did not know that. So that was cool. The picture in the middle is a picture of me on the Nile. We got to go on a boat ride on the Nile River, which was really sweet. And then those are just funny pictures at the pyramids. That's my friend Ryan from school, and he was on the Uganda team. And we got to meet up and like share stories, and it was really cool because I was like, oh, I know you from Anderson, but now we're in Africa together. So that was really sweet. And then the final slide, I think, yes. I put a frequently asked questions slide because these are all the questions that people ask me. So the first one is, what did you learn? And so I think the biggest thing I learned was that prayer is really powerful. There were multiple times throughout the trip where if we had not prayed for something, if we had not been like praying for specific things, they would not have happened. There's at least like 3 different stories that I could tell that was like, okay, prayer was integral into this happening. I'll tell one really quickly. I actually tested positive for COVID the day that we were supposed to leave. And so, as you know, now to get on a plane, you have to have a negative COVID test. I tested positive. Me and 2 other people did. We were like, how? None of us have been close to each other. Like, none of us have symptoms. We're really confused. I was really, really upset because I, at this point, was ready to go home. I was really homesick. We were starting classes. I didn't want to miss school, like all of the things. And so I was really upset. Began to text all my people. I was like, hey, please pray that I get to come home. And so, long story short, we got retested. Me and one guy's tests were both negative, and we got to go, literally all of our friends were in line at the airport, like about to go into the airport, and so I got to go home on time, had a false positive, which never happens, so that was one of the ways it was like, oh, because we prayed, like this changed that, so I think I really just learned that like prayer is incredibly powerful. I was also incredibly humbled because I went into this trip being like, okay, I'm going to teach these people something, but they taught me more than I could have ever taught them about like literally what it means to like be a follower of Christ and be a disciple and like sacrifice like worldly things because they live like in our standards such a poor life, but they were all so fulfilled in Jesus and like who he was, and that was like really convicting for me. And even in moments now where I'm like, oh, I want this or I want that, like I remember literally this one girl that I met that was like, well, people feel bad for me because they say that like I don't have anything, but I get to do what like the disciples did, and isn't that enough? And so that's probably the biggest thing I learned. Okay. Oh, who was the most impactful person you met? Okay, so the most impactful person I met is actually the woman to the right or left, depending on, to the left. So her name is Jane. She was my translator for 2 of my evangelism days, and she was literally the sweetest person I have ever met on the planet. Kenyan people are genuinely so welcoming, so sweet, all of the things. But she was 6 months pregnant. You can't tell because she was so tiny. But she was 6 months pregnant, and she would walk around for 3 hours with us in the 80-degree weather and go share the gospel with people. She was literally so inviting, so sweet. I went and visited her in her home on the last day that we were there, and she cried when I walked in. She didn't know I was coming, and she gave me. So she's a Maasai woman. There's 2 tribes in Kenya, Maasai and Kikuyu. She's a Maasai woman married to a Kikuyu man. That never happened, so that's crazy. But she actually gave me like a Maasai robe, and then she gave me a Maasai name. I have it written down. I don't remember how to pronounce it, but I know that it means peace. And so basically, her and I, we still keep up. We Facebook message. She has an 8-year-old son. His name is Jacob. He was on pictures earlier, and she's pregnant. I think she's having a little girl, and I told her to name her Emma, but I don't think she's going to. We'll see. It was just a joke. But I was like, you can name her Emma. And so she was just the most impactful person I met because I was like, you were 6 months pregnant, and like she needed help getting up off the couch, all of those good things. But I was like, you are literally like giving your days away just to share the gospel with people because she believed in it that much. So she was very sweet and awesome. Oh, what did y'all eat? This is a fun one. So I will say we did eat Kenyan food, but it was very Americanized. So we would have like spaghetti, but it was like a Kenyan twist. Or we would have, my favorite food was samosas, and it was like ground beef fried in dough, and it was really good. And so those are some of the things we ate. Mango juice was my favorite thing ever. We don't really have it in America. It's not as good, at least. It's very thick, very good. Loved it a lot. And then the next one is, did I experience culture shock? Okay. People ask me this all the time. I actually didn't experience culture shock like going there, but I did coming back. It was really weird. I think I was prepared for the way that they were living and like all of those things. I expected a lot of those things. But when I came back, like I said, it was like 80 degrees in Kenya. I came back the week that it snowed everywhere. So that's a picture of me and my roommate in the snow literally like 2 days after I got home. So that was weird, culture shock. It was also hard not to feel guilty because I was like, I have a hot shower and a nice bed and all of these things when they have nothing. But you just have to learn how to kind of deal with that. And I literally probably got rid of half of my clothes because I was like, I don't need any of this. And so in some ways it's very good, but you also have to learn how to like not feel guilty about things that we have. And then the last question is, will you go back? This is a question I get the most, and honestly, probably the other biggest thing that the Lord taught me during this trip was that I'm not meant to be a missionary. I loved it. I loved the people. I loved going. I think everyone should go. I mean, it's a part of the fulfillment of the Great Commission, like He tells us to go out to the nations. But like I went to Kenya, and the Lord really solidified a love for the American local church in my heart. And so I was very much praying for clarity on whether or not I was meant to be a missionary going into this trip. And He very much gave me the clarification that this is not my call. It is other people's, but it is not mine. And so I was very, very thankful for that. I'm not saying I won't go back short term, and maybe the Lord will change this and be like, okay, I'm going to go to Africa for the rest of your life. I will go if that is the case. But as of right now, I'm not pursuing full-time missions as my job. And so that was a really cool prayer answered. The next slide is my last slide, and I thought it would be fun. It's a what's next slide. So I did announce this yesterday on my Instagram because we were allowed to, but I am going back to Look Up this summer, so yay. Yeah, so I will be back on summer staff. I will not be on the yellow team with Joey again. Very sad. But I will be back. I'm very excited. I included that picture of me and Sarah because I thought it was funny. We were showing off our tan lines to Carrie. And then the picture in the middle is me and Joey on Mud Day. And then that's me and all my Arrival Day gear. That's how all these crazy kiddos met me with Dillard the duck. That was his name. I still have Dillard. I love him a lot. And then, again, I'm sorry, guys. But yeah, what's next for me is camp. After that, school, graduation. We'll see where the Lord takes me. But that's all from me. Yeah.
Getting old. I didn't move fast enough. I'm sorry about that. You caught me off guard. What do you guys think about that? How awesome is God, right? Yeah. Hey, I won't take all of your time, but you probably got something to do, right? I don't know. You do whatever. I'm going to take them and go back, right? We'll be good. I'll leave y'all. But, hey, listen, especially to you guys, but to Philippi, thank y'all so much for what you did. Thank y'all for investing in the kingdom, right? I thank you guys for doing that. And I hope you guys were inspired. That's why I wanted you to come and see what God has done in Emma's life. I really want you to see that. I love this idea that we can take what we have, we can give it to God, and I'm not going to preach a mini sermon, but I might, and we can give it to God, and He can do something great with it, right? Think about the kid with the fish and the loaves. That's what he had. I always put it in Southern terms, a couple of biscuits and some fish sticks. That's what he had. And it was just a lunch in his hand, but he gives it to God, and He does something phenomenal with it. And I want you guys to think about that. What can your life be like if you give it completely and totally to God? Now, I know some of you are saying, well, I'm saved. What do I need to do? You just stepped out in faith, right? You were like, I don't know if this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life or not, but I'm going to go and see what God does. And here's the thing. When she stepped out, can I just say this? When you stepped out, you were like, I don't even know how I'm going to afford this thing. How am I going to find it? I don't know what I'm going to do. And had no clue you were going to be with a bunch of kids from Philippi and Adamsburg, right? Never heard of this place before, and they're going to invest in what God's doing in your life. That's how God works. So y'all don't ever forget that. And if you ever start to doubt anything in your life, that can God do anything great with me? Can God really use me for His glory and His kingdom? Think about Emma. He 100% can. All you got to do is be a willing vessel. Be willing to go. That's all you got to do. So I'm going to say a prayer, just for you specifically, right? Can I do that? Just pray for what God's doing in your life and everybody, and then I'll dismiss them by grades and all that stuff. Is that okay? All right. Father, we thank you for what you've done in Emma's life. I thank you for giving Philippi the blessing and the opportunity. We are humbled and honored that you let us be able to invest in what she's doing for your kingdom and your glory and the people she's touched. And God, I just pray for her future. Whatever it is you've got planned for her, that you will order her steps, you will just put her where you want her to be and put people in her path to continue to do things for your glory. And every kid in this place, every adult too, but especially these kids, I pray, God, that you will put something in their heart to say, man, if he can do that in her life, he can do that in my life. He can do something great with me. And I pray that they'll just open their heart and be willing to be used for your kingdom. That's the prayer. All for your glory. In Jesus' name.